Hey everyone, and welcome to Grenades and Horseshoes, where we strive to bring good times, good feels, and general shenanigans every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Mark Square.
It's two of us. We have a piper down. We're missing one Yuna this week. Sadly, she is sick, so she's out. This is episode 11 of Grenades and Horseshoes, though. Welcome, everybody in the chat, everybody listening at home on iTunes or on Twitch, however you're tuning in. We appreciate you doing that. I knew Yuna was getting sick earlier this week when she has a pretty great sneeze. It's like kind of dainty and cute, but then they started to get more frequent, and then they got not as cute, and it was like terrifying. It was actually scary. And that's when I knew, something's up. So yeah, she is out sick. She's hanging out in the chat, so if you guys want to type to her in the chat on Twitch, that would be great. But let's talk about our week in Destiny this week. We both stayed up so late last night.
Wrecked today after lots of Leviathan last night. Man.
Yeah, it was fun though. It's one of the first times I've really had a really good time. You start to get the feel for the encounters, and you start to get the teamwork working for you, and a lot of that is just team chemistry and everything, and you have a good time playing, even if you don't make it. And I think it's important with that new raid to say, hey, here's our time limit. We didn't do that last night, but we were having a great time and we just kept going. But I think it's important to set some ground rules up front. Hey, I've got 2 hours. Let's do this. Now, some teams, it should be said, are just knocking this out, and they're knocking it out in 10 minutes. Not 10 minutes. I'm sorry. That's completely false. Like 45 minutes,
45,
an hour.
15-minute runs. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are epic teams, as Lawnboy says in the chat. Get good scrubs. He is right. He's on our raid team, and he knows exactly how true those words are.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, again, Tuesday night, last night when we were playing, we had a mix of members on our team that had gone through all of the encounters and some that hadn't. So there was some, there's a learning curve there, and this raid certainly has a learning curve. Looking back at launch day, and Mark, you were on our Xbox launch day raid team. Yuna was on our raid team, and the raid actually seemed much more difficult that day, almost to the point where we were sitting there going, how are we ever gonna help people through this raid for the first time? This is such a difficult encounter. Your execution has to be on point. But it's amazing how now when you get up to 300 light, you get somebody in there who hasn't done these encounters. We had actually Dakota Dark's brother join us, and he hadn't gone through a lot of the raid encounters, and you can actually create an environment where a player can learn and feel like they've got the support of the team. And they might make a mistake here or there, but for the most part, our team, the reason why we kept going and stayed up is things were actually clicking and going quite smoothly right up until we hit Callus. And then I think just the exhaustion had set in. It was too late in the middle of the night, and many of us have to work, and we were just kind of, I think, stretched a little bit. But it was a lot of fun. We had Paris from Gamertag Radio joined us, so that was fun to have him on. And
yeah, he's really fun to play with. We had a really great fire team. Yuna was sick again, so she missed that one as well, which is a bummer. Oh, it should be said, I'm Mark Square, and this is GreyGhost. I always forget that part. I know who I am. I know who he is. Sometimes, that's not the case with everyone. So also this week, though, I helped a lot of people with story missions. I think I probably did that final mission in the story, and basically the whole campaign probably 4 times over, which sounds
Are you
like...
getting tired of it at all? Because I played through it 3 times now, and I can't say that I take my time when I go through it now.
No, I don't, and we don't watch, because a lot of the people I'm helping, it's not their first time through either. They're building alt characters. But I did have fun. I had fun because the game is fun. And I love let's even do for instance, Nightfall. I don't always succeed. I've tried 3 times this week and failed 3 times. I don't look up how to do it. I don't look up the information on where all the stuff is. I want to find it. I want to figure out where it's at. I don't mind if I fail. It doesn't bother me. And this is in counterpoint to the discussion we had before, where sometimes you get stuck raiding and you're there for a long time and you're not super happy about that. But I feel like the rest of the content in the game, the nightfall, the stories, all that stuff, I'm just hanging out. I'm having a good time with my friends. I have enjoyed it. It's been really fun. There are a lot of exploding barrels in the campaign, which is something I'm super fond of, as Gray knows. Played the campaign with me. The game was see if you could blow up your friends. The faction rally really, it kind of contributed to that too. Like you'd go into a lost sector. Those things were highly explosive. You could really destroy your teammates with those. So that was, I enjoyed it. I'm having a great time. What about you? What was your week like? We played some Nightfalls together.
Yeah, we did. We ran some Nightfalls with Lawn Boy. We did some power leveling. That was a lot of my week in Destiny. So maybe we'll start there. Started the weekend knowing that we had planned this raid group that I really wanted to be a part of on the PlayStation 4. And I primarily play on the Xbox. My character's up to 302 light. Most of my hours have been dedicated to the Xbox. But PlayStation I just hadn't jumped on yet. So knowing that I had to go from complete nothing all the way to at least 260 light just to unlock the raid, that was a chore that started on Saturday. And I guess what I want to bring up right now about that whole situation is for those of us that want to play with people on both platforms. I have great friends on the Xbox. I have really good friends on the PlayStation 4. It disincentivizes the community and wanting to play with your friends and build a stronger community, that you have to level up separate characters, 6 separate characters in this case, going up to 9 separate characters once PC comes out. If I could appeal for one quality of life improvement, we're going to talk about some Destiny endgame things during the show today, but quality of life today would be being able to cross save so that I can have the character go ahead and gray out the gear that's exclusive to the PlayStation. But if I could just have that light level and the gear that's shared, the weapons that are shared, it would make my life significantly easier. My work life, my home life, my sleep life, all of it would be so much easier if I could just have the choice of running my 3 characters or not.
I agree. I knew what you're going to wish for, and I wish for that too so much. In fact, I think I've referred to, so I did it. I leveled on the Xbox first. I leveled a Warlock. I wasn't super keen on it. I've actually referred to it as the Xbox trap that I fell into. And to when I was leveling up my Hunter on the PlayStation, and I'm like, man, like, I just wish I wasn't, I wish I didn't have to rush this. This is something that I don't think should be rushed. I think they released the raids too quickly, too close to when they released the game. I understand they want to keep it, competitive, and really that's internal. Like, I should think to myself, just since a raid is there, just since that mountain is there, doesn't mean I need to climb it today or next week. I could put that off. So I think some of that is internal.
I actually couldn't do, Mark. Like, knowing that that's launch day. Launch day is almost like the raid launch. It's like a holiday. I take time off of work. I structure the whole day around being able to engage in this activity. I think Bungie actually has that right. I think the way they did it this year, or this raid, was better than prior. Thinking about the grind for Wrath of the Machine, thinking about the grind for King's Fall, being able to have a little bit of extra time, but more importantly, an easier path to get to appropriate light level, I think meant that more teams could engage in the raid than what could for prior raids. I know that we struggled. We had a more active player base when Wrath launched, and when I say we, I mean in our group specifically, and we struggled to have enough players at adequate light to go into that raid on launch day. Compared to the situation with Leviathan, we didn't have that same struggle. There was plenty of people at adequate light level. Bungie made the jump up to that light level more appropriate, more attainable in that time window.
I agree. And actually, this is something I will always do. If my friend makes a good point, if anybody makes a good point, I'm willing to change my mind. And actually, the two things that you brought out so far, I have changed my mind, because you know what was painful? It wasn't leveling the first time and getting ready for the raid. What was painful is re-leveling on a new console the same content again, to get ready for the raid again on a different console, because the community, you know, I wanted to be able to play on both. So I think you've got a really good solid point there. Cross save would solve that problem. I wouldn't feel that way. And I'm actually a player that I don't even care to have more than one character on a console. I'll build a hunter. I'm done. I don't want multiple hunters. I don't want one of each class. I actually, I'm going to build a hunter on PlayStation. I'm going to build one on Xbox. And then when PC comes out, I'm going to build one there too. I would much prefer they to be the same hunter. I would love that. Yeah. Way more than having to do it all over again. In fact, I feel a weird like disconnect between consoles. Like I log on to one, this is the same game, my controller's shaped a little different, but I feel like I'm like, well, where's my stuff? Oh, right, I don't have it here. I have it there, but not here. Anyway, I guess we've complained about that enough. But yeah. Cross save, please, Bungie, cross save.
Yeah, we'll get into some other quality of life issues later in the show, but that is one that is more acutely familiar right now because of that grind. So that was most of my weekend, leading up into our first run of the Guardian 1 Xbox Monday night raid group. So we kind of disbanded after Age of Triumph was winding down, and there really wasn't much interest in running these raids. But even at that point, we were running it just because we were a team that had practiced a lot together, and it's really nice to jump into content like that where everybody knows their role, they know their responsibility, and they execute, and it just feels great. It feels great to run through Crota in 25 minutes and just see everybody on point. It took some time to get the group back together because we fragmented just a little bit. Some people decided to start on PlayStation this time instead of Xbox, but we've reached the window where now everybody was pretty well light leveled except our friend Von Skeets. We gotta send our heartfelt apologies to him because of what happened next. So we go through the raid. I had actually not finished Leviathan. I'd gotten up to Callus a couple times, and our team just we knocked it out of the park actually on a last run attempt. You couldn't write it better. One of our members, Punisher, said, look, I got to get to bed. It's too late. I got to work tomorrow. This is my last run. So it's like, all right, guys, we got to make it count. And we wipe immediately. We can't leave on
can't go out like that,
right? I mean, we didn't even get to clap into the Shadow Realm. So he's like, oh, we'll give it one more shot. And we actually had to do 3 damage phases against him. So 3 runs through the Shadow Realm. By the end of it, I was shaking. My hands were sweaty. It was exciting. We finally get to the 3rd one where we pretty much just have to sneeze on him. He's going to fall. And immediately 2 of our guys die right away. So now we know not only do we have to take him down, but we have to take him down and his entire shield at the end. On a 30-second timer. We're going to wipe more likely from the 30-second timer because we were out of revives than we were from actually not, taking his shield down, and he claps and wipes the whole team. And the guys managed to do it. Notice I said the guys because I was one of the people that was dead. Just rooting them on, you guys can do this. And sure enough, they did. It was so clutch. We were very excited, very pumped up. I took a picture of it and tweeted it out the following day. So you can see that on GreyGhost 2’s Twitter account, my Twitter account. And tagged Bungie and Xbox, and Xbox actually engaged with us. They tweeted back to us, said, hey, it's great to see a raid team that's clicking and so tight-knit. And we certainly felt very tight-knit after a very exciting evening of finishing the raid for the first time. So that was very, very good.
That's amazing. That was cool that Xbox took an interest like that. And you wonder, whoever's running the Xbox account, they're surely playing Destiny. Mm-hmm. They're looking through the Twitter and noticing things like that, group shots of of raids and that kind of thing that's being completed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty
cool.
So
I had to feel bad for Von Skeets. Those who are listening offline or in the chat, send him a little Twitter message, or go ahead and give him a tweet just saying, hey, sorry you missed out on that Xbox thing, because he wasn't quite light level, so he didn't get to play last night, but he's one of our core members. Yeah. And so he missed out. He was pretty bummed.
He's saying he fell into the PlayStation trap because there's no cross save, and I'm saying I fell into the Xbox trap. There's no cross save, exactly. But what, you said some interesting stuff there about teamwork and clicking, and really, that's what I do love about any raid activity, though, is that you need to find that fire team that you're happy and comfortable playing with, and stick with it, and then it'll be like you're communicating things that you don't even realize you're communicating. Everyone knows what to expect. People you play with a lot know, you and Yuna know not to stand near an exploding barrel when you're playing with me. Like, It doesn't matter what we're doing. It could be a nightfall. I'm shooting that barrel. I'm shooting.
It's true. And it might be good to talk just a little bit about the raid, since it's so fresh on both of our minds. We played a lot last night into the raid. I played it Monday night as well. We have some issues in the raid that remind me of King's Fall, that just, it gets under your skin and it makes you super frustrated. In King's Fall, it was the teleporting ogres, right? You're doing everything right. The ogre is supposed to be in its spot. You throw down the grenade to hold it. You're taking him down and he teleports off of it. And now you've got one of those orbs that's right in the middle of your path of running, and you're just kind of out of luck. And it's like a glitch in the game, and they recognize that they fixed it. The biggest one that I've seen in this raid, and maybe those that are in the chat, they can confirm if they've seen that too. When you're in the Shadow Realm and you're running the far right side, it seems quite frequent that character hits a little crack. There's something in that path that causes them to pop up and just go past the barriers, and you lose that character to help on damaging the skulls. And I want to say that this is either just poor design on that right side, that there is a little blip there in the geometry that people don't really notice or see, or there's an actual glitch on that side. I'm not sure which it is, but very often I'm seeing people lose that side, and they're just wondering what happened. I felt like I did everything right.
There's a tile, and I noticed it last night when we had somebody ramp up and over and out, and I literally, so I'm standing in the middle, right, but I'm over on the right side of the middle, and I'm scooting down through there, and I don't see anything out of the ordinary, but then I skim right past the edge of a tile that is just the shallowest of ramp, and I couldn't even tell it was a ramp until I was past it and looked back. So there's like a tile that, like, I guess you would just have to remember not to be there. I don't know any other, because you can't even see it. It's just very, very, very shallow. I don't know. My guess is that things will come out like strats and little maps and things like that as we go along. Like, second phase, don't even go here in this lane. You know what I mean? Or, stuff circled and that kind of stuff, which is what's great about the Destiny community. We did Dakota Dark, of course, is an incredible raid Sherpa that we play with, and so soothing, calming. I call him the Bob Ross of raids, because he's just like puts everyone at ease, like, no big deal, happy little, raids, happy and little happy little warbies, yeah, no big deal, guys,
with your arc staff.
Yeah. So he was, Stretch for that gauntlet run. It was talking about just the way that he formatted, because there's so much going on, so many. It feels like a lot of phases. But what he did is he boiled down if you're shooting the top out here on the outside, when you go to the inside, you're in this lane with the person you were shooting with. If you were shooting top, you go for the highest orb. If you're shooting bottom, you go for the. And it's so simple, but yet it's something that can be said that makes it click in your mind to where you're not overwhelmed, and a lot of it has to do with the tone of voice too. If you raid with somebody who is soothing like that, now someone can do the opposite. There can be someone in your raid group that you're just like, oh my gosh, this person is like making my heart like beat faster, not in a good way, not like you're in love with them, more like you wish they would leave the party. So that's another aspect of raids that I think a lot of people that come like, I hate this raid, I hate this content. A lot of times they don't really hate the raid, they don't really hate the content. They might strongly dislike who they're playing with.
Yeah.
So that's something
they dislike the pressure, and the pressure has a lot to do with who you're playing with. if you're playing with a group that, you know, if you wipe, you wipe. You know, it happens. But we're not here necessarily to you know, get a speed run in and beat records here. We want to learn the encounter and have a good time, and those are the kinds of people that we enjoy raiding with. You brought up a good point about how clear Mark Square was in explaining those encounter pieces, which is a huge part.
Dakota Dart, not Mark Square.
Dakota
Mark Square
Dart.
did not explain anything.
In explaining those. So explain to me, Mark Square, why last night when you were shooting top, you took the bottom orb. And I didn't have an orb during the last run.
So
totally
Gray and I were
just snookered me, just stole it from me.
We were on the outside lane. Well, I'll tell you why, because it was intentional. We were on the outside lane together. There was suddenly a gate where neither of us had an orb, right? So I know that there was 3 in the center. I know that one or the other of us is going to. Actually, both of us are going to croak. That's what's going to happen. One of us needs one. And I hear Gray call, I'd like middle bottom so I don't die. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to make these other guys mad, but I'm willing to make Gray mad.
Yes.
So I just snuck in there. I was like, I know they're not getting that one. Gray already called it for us because we were a team. There's no I in team. There's a me. But
did you survive it? Did you make it all the way to the end?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, victorious. Yeah.
All right.
Well, that was a good intro. Let's go on to our first segment. This Ashes to Assets.
All right. And what is our Ashes to Assets segment, Mark?
So it is heroic clips or clips that are going pretty poorly at first and then turn out to be heroic. So you've pulled it out of the fire. And the way I always say it is, look, in Destiny, things are trying to kill you. There's tons of holes to fall down. If you do anything good, that's pretty heroic in my book. Like that's an asset. You've pulled it out of the fire. People are trying to kill you. Aliens are trying to kill you. So I'm not too hard to please when it comes to heroic clips. So we've got just a couple this week. So I think I submitted both. So in this one, I don't know if you knew this or not, Gray, but you can actually ride the tanks in the story. Did you know that?
I did know that, Mark Square. Yes.
Yeah, like as a passenger. Like, see, that's Darren's tank.
Okay. I was.
Look at this. Yeah.
I thought that you were being facetious. I did not realize you could ride it this long. I always fall off when I try to jump on it.
Praising. And so totally rode that tank down the hill. So I felt heroic afterward due to that emoted all those enemies to death. I'm sure that was actually Darren blowing things up as we know he's wont to do. But so
there was a mechanic in Halo, right, where you would have like a gunner seat and a driver seat.
Correct. And then in the original Halo, you could even have a driver, and you could have 4 guys, like one on each corner of the tank, sitting there firing off of it. I really miss that. Like, I really wish there was a passenger vehicle in Destiny so much.
Imagine if that was part of like a raid encounter that you had to have one of your characters steering some type of a tank, and then the other 5 manning different parts of it. That would be pretty incredible.
Love that so much. Even if say you're piloting a spaceship or something, and I don't know, and it's just like everybody's working together, like running from room to room to, keep the thing from blowing up or whatever. That would be so cool. I would love that so much. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. We got a Stream Deck problem.
That's all right. We don't need it.
We don't need it. So this, have you ever noticed how hard it is to get to Sloan? Once you get down there, I can't find my way back up. I don't know where to go. I'm lost. So in this case, I'll just try to straight jump up there, It doesn't happen, but instead of falling into the abyss like usual, I fall down onto this little platform and then make the hardcore parkour.
You did.
Right there. So when I said heroic clips, you probably expected like multi-kills in the Crucible or defeating the boss in the raid, which I have not done yet. But no, this is actually what I consider to be a huge win for me as Derpa Sherpa in the game. Nice. Yeah, there you go. Ashes to assets. So That's that. And of course, this week starts kind of our new format where we're trying to make this show a little bit more audio friendly so that you guys can listen in on iTunes or on Podbeam or on Stitcher. Actually, the Google Play Store now, thanks to Grey's done a lot of great work in getting our show out there. And you know, people are really enjoying it because they want to listen on the go or while they drive. It's very, you know, don't watch the video and drive. That could be very bad. So audio versions. So what we've done is we've each come up with a little segment every week, and it'll be different, whatever we feel like talking about. And so this week we'll have that. And the first segment is Grey's, and it's called...
So we're going to do GreyGhost Stories, working title. So if you have an idea for a better, or you know, if you really like that title, we're gonna keep it. Nah, I'm okay with it. I'm about like a 7 out of 10 on it.
7.
So our feedback email is GandHFeedback at gmail.com. So feel free to send us a message if you have things that you like in the show. We certainly like positive feedback, and then constructive criticism. Always trying to make this a better product for those that enjoy it. But yeah, so this week what I kind of wanted to discuss is, where are we with Destiny 2's endgame? Many of the player base that would consider themselves either hardcore or even just, you know, moderately intense players in this game have now hit that light cap. There's lots of discussion out there about, is there enough to do in Destiny 2 to bridge us till our first DLC release, which is still months and months away. Yeah, I just want to kind of touch on, we've reached a point where the raid has been released. We know kind of a little bit of our roadmap of what to expect in the future, but the biggest thing that I'm kind of wondering about is, how do you feel Bungie has done in creating the environment where you as a player want to engage back into this world on a daily basis or multiple times a week basis?
I definitely feel what you're talking about there. There's a lot of people who are players. I would call us, I mean, even though we try not to get very salty and we try to take the game pretty easy and just try to have a good time, we play a lot, right? And so a lot of the people who play on the same level of gameplay that we do, same amount of time, are talking about static roles. And they wish that, you know, remember the strike-specific guns? It was rare to get one. It was even rarer to get a good roll. Like, I don't know who programmed those rolls in, but they were so troll. Kudos to you, though. Kudos, because it did what Grey is talking about now. It actually extended the life of the game. Because, like, look, I'm looking for this certain roll on this certain gun, and when I get it, I'm not really enjoying the content I'm playing now. Well, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not like dying to do it. But I know if I get this one roll, that when the next content comes out, I'll have that little bit of an edge. And that's all it really takes. I want a little bit of an edge on this next content. I want to feel just a little bit more prepared for when the next content comes out. So there's two types of players, I feel like. Players that are playing for that reason, and players that are playing strictly for the community and because their friends are playing. And then I'd say most people fall somewhere in between there. You know, I like to feel prepared. I like to, you know, I mess up a lot. So I like to, when I do have a good run, you know, or I'm trying pretty difficult or hard content, and I'm really trying to help my friends out. I want to be prepared. I want to be able to do that and have the weapons that I need to be able to do that. So I think that's what's actually missing. Like, it's really easy to get the mods that you want for your armor, you know, for like kinetic reload gauntlets or whatever you're looking for. You can get all that stuff by buying a bunch of blues with your glimmer, breaking, you know what I mean? Like trading it in, getting your armor set just the way you want. Mm-hmm. Then what's the next step? You get your armor set, like maybe you like Night Stalker or Void Class. You get it set for that. You get it set for Arc. You get it set for Solar. You know, that way, whatever comes out. You get all your exotics, but you're right. Like, most people are that play as much as we do, and a lot of people play more. They're done. They've actually obtained all the things that they want.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I want to touch on, just back up a little bit when you were talking about the static rule issue, because I think that does play into this quite significantly. I'm a player that was very excited about static rolls. And part of that is, as much as I do play Destiny 2 and Destiny 1 into the hundreds to thousands of hours, I still have a lot of other things that I have to spend my time on. So being able to grind Omnigul for 16 hours to get a God roll Grasp of Malik was just not in the cards for me. I was going to run it, as many times as I kind of had, the patience for and the time for. But the likelihood that I was going to get that perfect roll that would have the noticeable advantage in the Crucible. That was the other thing, is like those who did go through it, there was an adequate payoff, a noticeable payoff.
Oh yeah.
Now I wasn't necessarily happy about that, because I felt like, it wasn't that I complained about it. I wasn't super salty. I certainly would tip my hat to those individuals for spending the time to acquire that weapon. But I was really looking forward to being able to go into like a PvP environment and know that the playing field has been more level set. Now that I'm living that experience, I'm kind of wishing that there was something. It isn't even about the rarity of it. It's just something to get excited about, right? Like, it looks like I got another, I was going to say Merciless. That's actually a bad example as an exotic. But let's say that I get another Scathelock, right?
Right.
And right now it's just immediately infusion fodder, or I dismantle it. I don't even need to look at it. But in Destiny 1, there was so much time that I would spend looking at the roll on the gun and trying to figure out, is this viable? Is it not viable? And then you start to learn, what combination of perks is viable or not. And as you build that knowledge base, you become a higher tier player. And I still would reach out to people, friends of mine that are much higher skilled, compete at a much higher level in the game, and just tell them, tell me, are these the perks that I want to have on the gun, or do I need to shard this thing?
And those were fun conversations. I enjoyed those. Those were cool. I don't know if you realize this, but early on, the only guns that you could actually re-roll were Iron Banner weapons.
No, I didn't.
So you could get it as a drop, and it could be anything. But then Iron Banner weapons were actually re-rollable. You could actually go spend materials to re-roll those weapons, get it exactly the way you wanted it, right? And it was one of those things where, that's actually not a great thing, because everyone just gets one of them, re-rolls. Right. And then they're like, well, I'm done. I have it now. This is the pinnacle. There's no more to strive for. Yeah. So I see what you're talking about. You almost want this unicorn in the game that everyone's always like after. But then at the same time, that can make people feel bad too. I'm not getting this unicorn that I'm after. I'm not getting it. I don't really know what the answer is to it, to be honest. I think one thing that you can do, I really think leaning more heavily toward, getting your teamwork in order for raids, setting challenges. Like if your raid group is just blitzing this thing, start doing challenge raids. Like just start handicapping yourself in some way that makes it harder to do. Use certain weapons, just use one less person. Just try all these different. I don't really recommend that. It kind of makes one person feel really bad, but you know what I mean. Like just challenge yourself in different ways.
2 mana like Slayerage, just
that's fine. That. Just if you want to do that, in BD.
Right. Well, the other thing that the reason why I wanted to talk about this today in particular is that there's a fair bit of salt flying amongst the Destiny 2 player base, especially those that are really active, diehard players in this game. I get it, right? We have really high hopes. Destiny 2, all the early experiences, those first week, 10 days, 2 weeks that the game was out, we loved it. This is fantastic. It checked so many boxes. These things are good. And now some of that, that honeymoon phase is wearing off a little bit. We're starting to see the cracks in certain areas. We see where Bungie can make improvements. And I just, ultimately what I fall back on and what I want to encourage our listeners and those that really enjoy Destiny to think about is this is a new foundation. If Bungie set out to do anything with this game, it was to have a much better foundation to build upon than something that is significantly broken that you spend 3 years, retooling to make it into the experience that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives.
I agree.
I was reading the article, and I have it pulled up here, from Kotaku. This is Kirk Hamilton, who talks a lot about Destiny in his writings. A big fan of the game, and he also is feeling a little bit let down as that honeymoon phase wears off, and we're realizing that there is an end, there is a limit to the content, and we're experiencing that end. But he says that he's optimistic for where things will go from here. If the last 3 years with Destiny taught us anything, it's that it's better to build on a sturdy foundation than try to fix a busted one. And I've mentioned it on earlier episodes of Grenades and Horseshoes. What I'm really excited to see is Bungie deliver on that expectation that this is a game that is much easier to build upon, to retool, to make the necessary changes, and to add content than Destiny 1 ever was.
That's absolutely true. The way that the game is designed, they can make changes much quicker. And there were things that were broken in Destiny 1 that was like, oh God, like this is going to take a major patch to fix this. And you just had to put a Band-Aid on it and go on. So like, let's take for instance, there was a Trials glitch a few weeks back, right? Mm-hmm. And it was people were getting outside the map, and it was just, in the past, there was a Trials glitch, right? They shut Trials down. It was just like...
Just canceled it.
Yep, canceled. What'd they do this time? They pulled an audible, they put instead of you doing survival, they went back to the previous week's settings. They did countdown. So I think that they've learned a lot from that. I think all of this, the whole conversation, is really going to depend on when this next expansion comes out. Even if it's 2-3 months down the road, how extensive is it? Will there be a live event between now and then? Think about it. We've had Faction Rally. You go on Patrol, Faction Rally changed Patrol, and Patrol's a big deal now. I mean, all the public events, all those, the Faction Rally events where you're capturing the different zones and that kind of thing, it plays so different on every single Patrol area that you would go to. Some of them, even at highlight, it was hard to survive. There were so many ads, and at such a high level, it changed the game fundamentally. That Faction Rally did. Nightfall every week is so different, so different. And then Iron Banner's coming up, right? We've got Iron Banner coming.
Well, and you bring up a really excellent point about just the ritual, right? The milestones, and Bungie has certainly doubled down on the player base. The player base has this attraction towards the ritual of Destiny each week. So we have our milestones, there are flashpoints, we have arcades, chests, these things that I actively want to, at least today, go in and participate on. And that's gonna, wear off. Eventually I'm gonna be like, meh, I've read all of Cade's letters. Do I want to go back in and pick up some more chests from him? They've done a lot of really cool things with the Nightfall. So I think that's going to carry on, but I actually really enjoy that every reset. I feel like there is a good number of things for me to do in the game for me to check those boxes, and I'm the kind of player that I really hated going in and getting bounties and doing those either every day or every week. That was not what I wanted out of the game. Right. Now that it automatically assigns these tasks,
just fly down to the planet.
Yeah, I'm much more inclined to say, well, what do you guys want to do? We sign on, we're going to play some Destiny. What do you guys want to do? It's like, well, my game is telling me that I have this, and this to accomplish yet this week. Might as well work on some of that stuff. I don't have to fly to the tower. I don't have to go find a bounty that I don't care about. It's kind of already built into the game that I can participate in these activities if I want to.
Yeah, and there's another tier of event that we really haven't tried that much yet, and it's the guided games. So like, if you, say you've got everything done, right, and you get on, and then say you get on one day and you've cleared your planets. You've gone to every planet. You've done every you've got faction, or what do they call those? They call them a reputation bundle that you can earn daily, and it changes every single day. You can get it in Crucible in the 2 different types. You can get it on every planet. Say you've done all that and you still want to play. And you've done your Nightfall, go into guide. Take one of your friends that's really good with Nightfalls. Go into the Nightfall and try to help someone clear that. I mean, if you want to get really, if you're really good at raids, get 5 people that are in your clan together. Go and try to help somebody through a raid. I mean, so there's a lot going on, and I feel like maybe people don't remember how much was not going on for vanilla Destiny. I mean, it was, there was very, very little to do and very few ways to get it done. I remember it started off with there was a Queens event, right, in Destiny 1. Like it was like week 2 or 3, I forget. It was right at the very beginning, right? And so we're coming in, we're playing this game, we're like, oh, this is cool. Oh wait, what's this? A new event here, And then we thought, oh, that's going to be something that just keeps happening.
Yeah, every few weeks.
Never happened. Never happened. So tell me, like, okay, I will assure you that they heard about it. Okay, like they're not unaware that people wanted more Queens events like to occur and they weren't happening. So like I feel like they've learned from that, and I feel like Destiny 2 has been a live active game for the whole time it's been out. What will tell, like I'm saying, what's going to tell is if that momentum keeps going, right? You got Iron Banner coming up. Maybe there's going to be some kind of a seasonal event.
Do you think we're going to get a Festival of the Lost this year?
I would imagine. See, that's what I'm saying. They have all these things in place, provided. I mean, they've made their infrastructure bigger. There's more people working there now, more studios helping. What are they? They're making content. So I think we'll see that. I think that it's really important to, as a player, just be aware that just since someone else is unhappy with the game, it doesn't mean that you have to be either. So like if you're having a good time, like I know, for instance, me, like, I mean, maybe there's some teams that go in and they knock the Nightfall out first thing. They knock all their raids out first thing. I'm not doing that. Like, I don't have that, that's not in my skill set, so like I'm having a great time. I mean, I'm not like winning all the time, but I'm the challenge level is right for me. Right. And I consider myself to be even though I would consider myself a straight average player. As much time as I spend, I should be an elite player. I'm not. I'm average, but still I'm fine with that. And I'm enjoying the content. And then I think the problem is some people allow other people's negativity to kind of like creep in and be like, well, I feel guilty now about being happy about my game because I know X, Y, and Z actually don't like it and they feel bad about it. But just don't pay attention. I'm not saying that we need to stick our heads in the sand and not hold Bungie accountable for anything that they're doing in the game or any lack of content. Like if it comes up, there's no more events and we've got three or 4 months of long waiting and then a content drops and there's no raid in it. I mean, like, which that's a very big possibility, or there's no, I mean, okay, I gotta be quiet about it. So there's stuff coming that it might be even cooler. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we just don't know. So I think it's a little bit early to be worried about it. But
we just wrapped up and we are currently experiencing what it's like to be on the shorthand of picking the wrong faction. So as you can see, we had our faction rally, a first big really live event, I think, in the game that we saw, and we're probably going to see more of these. I don't know that they've announced the frequency of these faction rallies, but there's dead orbit all over this tower, which is driving me crazy. It's disgusting.
Yep. They did win. They did. People like black shaders. They're slimming. I mean.
Yeah.
What do you want?
I'm gonna go put I'm gonna put the cure on and just start thinking about existentialism and So I mean, congrats to Dead Orbit for winning the first faction rally. We decided to even deck out our set in Dead Orbit gear, just like the rest of the tower is. But man, I really want to see Future War Cult win the next one. New Monarchy, meh.
I was a supporter of New Monarchy, of course. Gray, Yuna, Dan. I mean, I'm talking like everybody that was picking their primary favorite that I knew was picking Future War Cult.
Right.
Like, I mean, I just know a few people, like maybe Claw was picking New Monarchy with me. I mean, like everybody, like it was like a Future War Cult party, and I don't know if that means that I pick colorful friends and people who like that aesthetic. But
talk about overconfident. Like everybody, again, it was very, very few people. The Dead Orbit group out there in general did not. I did not hear a lot of people saying that they were repping Dead Orbit, which made this announcement. I'm not surprised. They are a very intriguing group. My own wife, she she reps Dead Orbit, always has.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not out there telling everybody, I love my faction. But the Future
They just
War Cult
quietly took it.
Oh my gosh. They were all over Twitter. I mean, this was like a political campaign, and then they lost. I mean,
yeah. Did you see the guy he had on the side of like his Hemi? He had like the hot rod with the Future War Cult right down the side. It was a purple one with all the totally decked out. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, maybe that's what it is. The Future War Cult supporters were a vocal minority. Well, they clearly were in the minority. And the New Monarchy, I would like to see the stats. And I don't know if they released them, but I was not expecting to win as New Monarchy. I mean, that I wasn't. I was expecting Future War Cult to win. So I'd be interested to see. Also, Future War Cult's entire faction was glitched out in that you could just continually get rewards, not just shaders, past level 30. So like if you hit 30 on any faction.
That was not true, Mark Square. That was a lie to incentivize people to join Future War Cult.
Ben, he never stopped getting rewards. He just kept. I mean, it was the same one over and over. Yeah. It was like the same ones.
Rifles, but
but yeah, he got them all the way to the very end. So yeah, that could just be me as a New Monarchy supporter trying to cast doubt on the Future War Cult's credibility.
Yeah. I actually hope they don't release the results because.
Oh really?
Let's just say that Dead Orbit won. They had twice as many votes as any other faction. What do you think that's going to do to the next faction rallies? If it was that high, are people going to be that interested? Do they feel like it's going to even be a competition, be a race? I think there's almost, if it wasn't close, there's too much to lose. And when I mean close, I mean all three of them would have to be close because you wouldn't want to have any one of those factions feel disenfranchised.
You're absolutely correct. I think a mystery is better in this case. Although I have to admit, if there was one, and I'm probably not your average gamer, but if there was one that totally tanked, like if they released the results and it was like New Monarchy got like 10%, that's the one I would do every time. Yeah. Because you can't tell me what to do, Mom. Yeah. That's right.
I told you before, Mark, don't call me Mom. Dark Prophet 2 says that I think guided games should have better rewards for guides to give guides more incentive to do so and promote positive play. I think Bungie has done a good job, at least in the design, to promote positive play, right? You have that Oathkeeper score, and if you have a low score, meaning that people are giving you bad reviews, people are probably not going to sign up to play with you. I think that that's a good model. I think from our experience, and Mark and I and a lot of the people that we raid with, we formed a group in Destiny 1 to really go out and help people run their first raids in the environment and the experience that they wanted to. So skilled enough players that we could carry somebody through if they felt like they just wanted an easy run through the raid. But then considerate enough too that we would ask the player, hey, what kind of experience do you want to have? Do you want it to be something where you learn the best strategies? Do you want it just to be where you get to see everything and explore the environment? You tell us and we'll cater kind of to what you would like to have.
Would you like to take a shot at figuring out what's happening here?
Right.
And guide us a little bit at the, sorry, go ahead.
And, people who have that attitude, like us, we're going to gravitate towards guided games, and it's not really going to be about the loot or not about the loot. I think that it could be very dangerous if they actually assigned the loot based on completing certain activities in that raid, because that could lead a team to almost be negative, right? To be actually critical of that player and saying, look, we need you to do better, because if you don't, we're not going to get the loot that is promised to us by being your Sherpa. That could create some tension in a group. So if they did it would almost have to be where if a raid group or a clan achieved a certain Oathkeeper score, then the clan or that group would get rewarded something special in the game. Maybe what would be really good in that is just an emblem, right? Those who achieve the highest rank of an Oathkeeper score and a certain number of runs, they get a special exclusive emblem that's only to those individuals. What do you think, Dark Prophet, or those that are in the chat? Do you think that would kind of help incentivize guides to go in and participate in guided games and be rewarded for good behavior?
It totally would. And I actually, you make a fair point, and I actually agreed with him that there should be more incentive to promote positive play. But I think giving people, actually promising certain loot to the players doing that, you're right. It could turn into a very toxic environment to the point where it's like the people they're trying to help, the very ones you're trying to teach to play the game, and the whole point of guided games, those people could be mistreated based on, you're holding us back from getting this loot we're trying to get. What is wrong with you? Or if the ones that really need help, they would just get left. It'd be like, oh, well, you're not going to be able to help us. You know, we're not going to be able to help you quickly and get what we want. So we're just going to, as a group, we're not saying, Dark Prophet, you would do this. Don't think that. What we're just saying is that people, that's the type of thing that they're trying to design out of guided games. They're trying to design those situations where people who aren't as good at the game aren't treated poorly. In fact, it's designed for people who maybe don't have a lot of friends or are new to the game, get treated very well, then those people want to stay in the community. That's like the whole idea. So yeah, I think that's a really good point, Gray. That's very well thought out, because you do have to really design it to keep people from being going super salty and try hard on poor people within the guided games system. That's a very good point.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got a good Destiny 2 base built here, and there's a lot of, I mean, think about all the new things that are in Destiny 2 that we've just kind of overlooked and not really thought about quality of life improvements that have happened. So I'm happy with it overall. What about you?
And I mean, we're also not super big fanboys. I mean, we love Bungie, we love the work that they do, but that doesn't mean that we don't have our criticisms. We just want to make sure that stays balanced. And if I'm going to give balance to the show, it's going to say things like, well, we don't have private matches. We have limited playlists that we can enjoy in Crucible. I would actually say that my experience in the Crucible initially, I did really like the 4v4 and the slower time to kill, but I could see myself becoming less interested in PvP in the long haul in this model, as opposed to what we saw in Destiny 1 with 3v3, and where certain skill levels, certain plays could definitely win difficult encounters. Whereas right now, the team shot is just so strong that even if you pull off an epic play, you are likely not going to get rewarded for it. You're going to die.
So I agree with you, but it makes me the opposite direction, right? So I feel like what you were striving for in Destiny 1 is to become that player that was good enough that it didn't matter what your team did, you were just going to wipe out the other team, right? Whereas easy with that, Sparrow. Whereas in Destiny 2, I feel like it's all about teamwork, and it's about getting that teamwork and communication, and I feel like that's the payoff more than anything else.
And I get it. I agree to an extent. The problem that I'm running into, the encounters that infuriate me, are the 1v1s, right? It's clearly a 1v1 encounter. I have engaged looking at my map awareness, looking at my radar, and knowing that this is an okay, safe interaction for me to have. I have the jump on the player. I'm gonna land the first few shots, so I'm doing everything right. And we trade shots. They die first, and I'm at about half health. And then just because of luck of the draw, somebody comes from behind him on their team, and now they get to engage against me, right? And I only have half health. But I won that encounter. I actually have gotten into the habit that if I'm going to engage in a solo 1v1 encounter and win, I immediately have to run away, right? Like I have to find cover or something. If two people duck out, I have to bail. There's no way you're going to win that 1v2 unless they're really bad at shooting and they're not landing their shots. You know, it's those kind of things where it just gets a little bit infuriating when you feel like it's forcing
you to play a certain way. Well, think about this though. Instead of say you were into that encounter with that person, you were having a 1v1. To me, that's where the whole encounter breaks down. Okay, so as a Halo player way back, if you're having a 1v1, you're doing it wrong. That's what was trained into me as a Halo player. The time to kill is even longer than that. So it's all of it, when we were really clicking as a Halo team, and it was actually in SWAT that we played the most. And it was all about positioning and never, you've got the most eyes on the most likely lanes at all times. You know what I mean? And it was all about coordinating that. And I really got a really huge Like I really liked that, and that's the reason I didn't really like Destiny 1 Crucible at all. I wasn't interested in it, and it was because one guy could come rampaging through your team and just like, why, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whereas now that is not even an option. That's not going to happen. But it's just, I mean, I feel like you know, everybody wants to play the game differently, and it's going to suit some people more than others as well. And I feel like maybe people who were elite players in Destiny 1, I could not fault them. Because I think you're quite a lot better at Crucible and Destiny 1 than I was. I couldn't ever fault you or anyone else for not really liking the new format. I feel like it actually plays toward a casual player more, or a player that wants to do a teamwork thing versus a solo, like, heroic.
And those experiences, I should qualify, are usually when I'm solo queuing. You're right. It is a different experience if I'm in a fire team and we're all on comms and we are, you know, really working on our engagements. It's when you solo queue and you're not really talking to their teammates. You can kind of huddle around and follow, but you can't really direct. You can't, you know, instruct somebody to do a flank or do a different angle. Even if, and that's a lot of these times, it's like, okay, I see that these 3 players are going this direction. I know the map well enough that I can cut a flank and hit an angle over here. And then just by chance, right, somebody on the other team does the same thing, and now I find myself in a 1v1 situation.
Yeah, that's true. It does feel really bad.
You know, finding the balance of it. And I don't want to get, you know, sometimes I feel like, well, this should just be the Revolutionary War type of warfare where we just line up, 4 of us all side by side. Yep. One group takes their shot, the next group takes their shot, people fall down, and this is war. You know, that's sometimes like when I feel like our whole group, 4 of us are grouped together in a lane, and they're grouped together in an area, and we're just crossfire, right? We're just shooting each other and seeing who's going to die first. I feel like it's, you know, we're in the Revolutionary War.
Or we're kids with like just spitwads. Like at that point, it's just it's gone all to pieces. And I agree. You know, it's everything's an adjustment. Oh, hey, welcome Z-Dog. He's saying solo queuing is awful in D2. I agree about that. Fear to Beard, welcome. Yeah, and a lot of people. Z-Dog's also saying I miss 6s. Yuna says the same thing. Yuna would love to play 6s again. I think that. I would like to see that too. Like what I think we'll see is based on like how Destiny 1 went. I think we'll see features get unlocked as we go. You know, just like to keep it like, oh yeah, here's something new. Here's something new. I just hope they can keep that kind of a level of release up. Like here's another thing new. Here's an event over here. Here's this. So like as long as they can maintain that. And from what I understand, they do have that in the books. Like that's something that has been that they're aware of and are trying to accomplish. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually more excited for Crucible and Destiny 2 than I ever was in Destiny 1. And it's because what I want to get to is that point where, okay, have you ever fought against a team and one of them's shooting you and then suddenly they rotate and it's like, okay, I've got this guy almost dead. Whoop! Oh wait, crap! This is a whole new guy. Okay, I'm gonna shoot at him for a while. You know, even if you're like clearly your skill is higher than them, they still beat you because you can't burn down 2 people. You know what I mean? So you know, what I want to get is to play with the regular team enough. You and Yuna, sorry, you're gonna hate this. You might hate me by the time we're done. Play PvP with me and like just get that teamwork going. Get someone else that we play with very regularly to the point where we almost know what the other is thinking. And to me, in Destiny 2, that's what I'm looking at. I want the teamwork and the human interaction parts of it are the parts that I'm super keen on. And I'm glad that the Crucible feels the same way now. As PvE, you could always point to raids and say, "Hey, look! If you get really good at your teamwork, you can defeat this together." But now, I think you could look at Crucible. I'm not saying that any team could beat any other team. That's not what I'm saying. There's some people out there that are incredibly too talented to beat. But you feel like you've got a chance in regular Crucible. So. Yeah.
No, those are fantastic points. So, you know, that's Grey's ghost story for this week.
I enjoyed it.
I think that Destiny 2, you know, my final say on it would be, I want to give Destiny 2 time to build on this foundation. I view it as a foundation. It was well worth the time and money that I've invested in it so far, and you know, they've got time to prove themselves now. There's There's a player base that is responding, saying that they want more. They were happy. They're becoming unhappy. And let's see what Bungie does, because they've seen these cycles with the player base in the past.
Absolutely. And they don't ever, they're not a company that says, you don't go play other games. Nem in the chat, welcome, by the way. He's downloaded Fallout 4 again. He's going to, just keep it fresh.
Oh, that's what I was going to talk about.
Games.
I wanted this to actually be the Cuphead segment, because that's what I downloaded and realized that is just one of the most insanely difficult games that I can remember playing for a 2D platformer. I mean, anybody that's in the chat, send me a message, send it to our feedback email. I'm curious, for those that have played Cuphead, if they expected that game to be nearly as difficult and as grueling as what it actually is. Tons of fun, great animation, the audio and the story are fantastic, but it demands skill. It really does.
The only thing I've noticed about that is that Cuphead's head is a cup, as his name suggests. Yes. His body is Mickey Mouse. His hands, everything. He's missing his little suspender straps, but that's Mickey body. That is Mickey body.
Yeah, it's it's a tip to the hat to the early cartoons, and Mickey Mouse and the music and the story, or not really the story, but the music.
Oh, really?
It all lends itself. So yeah, and all of it was hand drawn, which is very impressive and fantastic too. So you should definitely check it out, Mark Squared. It was actually Paris from Gamertag Radio that him and Danny and his team there that talked me into picking it up, and I don't regret it, because it is a lot of fun. It is very interesting, but I was not expecting it to be as difficult as what it was.
It's like you beat a level and you're like, like I need to just kind of go get a massage.
Yeah, it's more of, you don't just jump in and feel like I'm just gonna fly through this level and move through this quickly. Like you die a number of times on any given level, that when you do finish a level, it feels like an accomplishment. So it's not like you would go in thinking this is going to be a nice casual encounter. And there's some level modes, like you could do easy versus normal, but I'm never who's going to go and pick the
there we go.
Who's going to go and pick the easy mode on it? So, but even on normal mode, I would. Yeah, I don't. I haven't done it. But even on normal mode, it's just like, you're gonna die quite a few times as you learn this level and learn the patterns, and then when you finish it, you feel like you've actually accomplished something.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I might have to check it out. I'll at least look at it, because the hand drawn aspect of it really is very, very cool to me.
Yeah.
Right. What about my Destiny Squared for this week? Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm ready for Destiny Squared.
So I sent you over a video, and this is a little bit of a cartoon that I made. I make the Derpa Sherpa cartoon, and I based the Derpa Sherpa cartoon on my experiences within Destiny. So I'm going to try to describe what's happening in these panels. So in case you're listening, so this is is it a video? Do we have a whole video there?
It is the video. Let me see if it'll restart for me.
Okay.
There it goes.
Yeah. So what you've got here is called the Try Hardly. And this is about me doing strikes with tryhards. And the guy says, I can't wait to see the scoreboard, noob. And then he's firing all the weapons, and I'm just like, pew, pew. And then it gets to the end. I literally killed nothing during the strike. Like, I shot my gun a lot to make it seem like I was killing things, and I got 0 kills on purpose. Just to get the reaction at the end, like what's this guy gonna think when he's been trying so hard and shooting all the stuff and making all the racket, and then it gets to the end and I've actually killed nothing. It was great. The payoff was good. This is a guy I used to play with, and he's a very talented player. But man, he could just not understand why everybody wouldn't be doing 110% all the time. So this is actually a little time lapse of me making the Derpa Sherpa cartoon there. Very bold, just very spaghetti armed cartoon that I like to make.
Yeah, and maybe Mark, give us a little bit of a background on Derpa Sherpa. And you said this is actually so this comic and these frames were from an actual event from in the game. Are they like a story from your experience in Destiny? Are all these going to be from your personal experiences in the game?
Yes, yeah. So like they'll be inspired by what has happened to me within the game. So I've got a few more ideas. This is actually the first and only full 3-panel comic I've made for Derpa Sherpa. Otherwise, I just, I kind of make a single frame or a T-shirt or something like that, for design, just for fun. But yeah, I'll be having more and more of these come out, and a lot of them are based on fails that I've had. That's why I called it Derpa Sherpa, is because I kind of think of myself that way. I'm trying to help. And I feel like what I do, I helped a lot of people through campaign this week. I really don't offer any kind of really great talent in the game, but laughs. I'll make some jokes. I'll try to diffuse it if people are not having a great time. I like to see people have a good time. So I do bring something to the table, but it is most definitely not, carrying people in trials or helping people through hard raid. But the whole thought process behind Derpa Sherpa is be kind to one another. Realize it is just a game. Have a good time. Laugh. I've been doing regular posts on my Twitter at @marksquare_ of different situations that happen to Grey and me and Yuna and different ones I play with. And then I'll do the hashtag Derpa Sherpa. So you could search Twitter for that. One of them, let's see what happened. I got out of my tank to go open a door in one of the story missions, and Grey just pushes my tank off the edge. And so I'm like, my tank.
Yeah, I thought that might be your This Week in Destiny, because you had started that story mission so excited. Elkins was with us saying that he was basically going through every tank that he could. It kept getting destroyed, and then he'd get a new tank. And Mark is like, I'm going to go through this whole encounter with the same Drake tank. I'm not going to lose one of them. And there's a part where you have to jump out and go and pull a lever so that a bridge is created, and you can drive across this big gap. As soon as Mark jumps out of his Drake tank, I push it off the edge. And so he wasn't able to get his completion.
Even worse. I go over to look down and be like, oh, my tank, and then he pushes me off too. So stuff like that happens in the game all the time, and I absolutely love it. I think it's the greatest thing about the game, just having a good time with your friends and stuff, and not taking yourself too seriously. And that's what Derpa Sherpa is about. Let's see, what was the other one that I posted? I got onto my Sparrow at the top. If you spawn in, where's Artifact's Edge? And is that IO? I forget what. No, it's Nessus.
Nessus, yeah.
Anyway, on patrol, you spawn in really high, right? And I just went ahead and pulled out my ghost, and I got on my Sparrow, and I just I'm riding this out. I want to see what happens. And so I hit the ground, and the Sparrow explodes, of course, and just kills me instantly and launches me over. And I land next to a treasure chest. And so I tweeted it out oh, hey, treasure, meant to do that. So, that kind of thing is why I play Destiny and not some other game, too. I feel like there's so many opportunities to embarrass yourself or to remind yourself that you're just having a good time. So that's the mission of Derpa Sherpa. Falling in holes and making others happy.
All right, Destiny Squared with Mark Square.
Yeah. So it's been a great episode this week, episode 11. We missed Yuna very much. She is very sick this week. Sadly, she missed the raid last night. Sick. It's bad. So got a flu shot. Maybe that wasn't the greatest idea. But yeah, so we missed her. We'll look forward to her coming back with us next week, and for episode 12. So if you want to check us out on Twitter, at @marksquare_, at GreyGhost2E, at Unilala, YUNIELALA, or at GNH Show. You can check us out over on Twitter.
I want to give a big shout out to all of those who joined us on the Planet Destiny channel, where we record live every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. The chat was very active tonight, so I really appreciate everybody that was in there. Enemy Destiny Gamer, Bombitas, Bitring, our resident mod who's here every Wednesday night and helps us out, Nem. Very, very happy to have him on board. And just everybody. So if you want to see the live show where Mark is making the sets and we have live video and we're showing clips and art and various other shenanigans, join us here at Planet Destiny's Twitch.tv channel. Otherwise, we're available now on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, and we're in the Google Play Store, so you can check out the audio-only version offline. If you have thoughts for feedback for the show, you can reach us at GandHFeedback@gmail.com. And just like every week, we're going to have Jelly take us out. It was great having you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you can't catch the live show, then you can find the replays on the Grenades and Horseshoes YouTube channel. If you'd like to stay connected to the community during the week, you can reach us at our show Twitter handle, @GNHShow, or at our individual handles, @MarkSquare_, @GreyGhost2e, and @Yuna. We're also open to any ideas you may have or seeing any clips that you would like to send in. Please send the feedback to GandHFeedback@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.